Hey everyone, how's it going? So, it's Angeli and Vince here again with another vlog. And basically we're here in our quarantine in Cairns at the moment in Australia. And what we just wanted to do for this video is just to take you on our journey going from the Philippines and then coming into Australia. We're going to take you to each of the details and each of the steps that we had to kind of navigate our way back to Australia even through a pandemic. So basically COVID travel. So before we go to that, I just want to let you guys see this balcony from our quarantine hotel. So yeah, this will be our view for the next 14 days. Let's take it from the start. So Angeli's been in the Philippines since August 2020 and I came in September 2020 due to a family emergency. But we basically took Singapore Airlines. So we usually take Singapore Airlines going on all our international travels. So, you know, going from Perth in WA, Western Australia, via Singapore and then into the Philippines, usually via Cebu, so Perth, Cebu, straight away. We booked a round trip taking us from Cebu to Perth. Our flight was initially scheduled for December, going from Cebu to Perth via Singapore, and then what happened was we got cancelled. So, you know, that's just the effect of the pandemic. So we really tried to find other options and at the time, and the reason for some of the cancellations was either the country was only taking residents or citizens of their own, so not even transit passengers are allowed inside their airports, or that the tickets were actually not available, so you couldn't book broken flights. What I mean by that is flights with different airlines. You needed to book tickets with just one airline to avoid baggage rehandling. And basically that's what happened with Singapore. They had a travel ban with the Philippines. We tried looking into Singapore, Hong Kong, Dubai, the UK, Japan, South Korea, and New Zealand. And we were doing it without a travel agent, so we really had to monitor flights and everything as the days went by. We looked at each feasible option, weighed its pros and cons, such as the costs, the risks involved, such as contracting COVID, and the duration of the flights. And we knew that we were going to be limited. You know, it wasn't going to be an easy, straightforward flight like Cebu to Perth or something. In the end, we subscribed to the Embassy of Australia in the Philippines website. And luckily enough, Angeli found a comment there stating that they successfully got into Australia recently.
Philippine Airlines welcomes you to Manila. The time is
via an airline called Air Niugini. And basically Air Niugini is a flight which will take you into Australia, but the transit will be in Papua New Guinea, so basically Philippines, Papua New Guinea, and then Australia. Another thing that limited us with this flight with Air Niugini was the fact that the flight was going to depart from Manila. So it's Manila to Papua New Guinea and then into Queensland in Australia. So Queensland is a different state, it's in the east. We are from the Western Australia, so we kind of knew that we were gonna have to sort out what happens when we get into Queensland, because more likely than not we were gonna have to quarantine in Queensland. So we were kind of planning everything, and then another thing that we needed to plan was the local government unit restrictions in Manila. So we needed to get travel authorities from Cebu. We need to get swab tested to make sure that we're all negative before getting into Manila. And then there was also no option of really staying a night in Manila using a hotel, because most of the hotels, they only take their own residents or Manila residents, so only transit was possible. Luckily enough, Angeli had some relatives in Manila who we were able to stay with, because our flight with Philippine Airlines from Cebu to Manila was in the morning, about 10 a.m. It arrived at 10 a.m. in Manila, and then our flight was 6 p.m. at night. So here we are driving into Angelique's relatives' house, and where we stayed until our flight departing to Port Moresby was gonna happen at nighttime. So it was a good power nap. And then now we're going into Naia right now. So as you can see, it's nighttime, 6 p.m. and our flight was at 9:30. And yeah, so once we got to the airport, yeah, there was a big queue. There wasn't a lot of people, but there was a big queue, and I think it was very lucky of us that we had some relatives in Manila, because we suspect that some of the people that you can see outside right here, they might have waited there for the whole day just for their flight. So again, quite lucky that we had some relatives to help us. But yeah, in terms of the Air Niugini flights, they would just give you a departure form, make sure that you're not sick or you're not exhibiting any symptoms before you fly. And also the swab test that we got to get into Manila was also still valid, because they use I think it's 5 or 7 days before the flight. As you can see over here, you know, this is the line. Everybody's wearing masks, everybody's wearing shields, which is mandatory in the Philippines, by the way, face shield. Yeah, everybody's practicing physical distancing right there. Another thing with our Air Niugini flight is we were informed beforehand that there was going to be no food on the flight. So it's like I think it was a 5-hour flight from Manila to Papua New Guinea, and imagine not having food for that. So we were able to buy dinner for that one, so we were prepared for dinner. Well, unfortunately for us, no one really told us that once we arrived in Papua New Guinea, so about 5 a.m, that there was going to be nothing open as well in Port Moresby Airport, Jackson Airport. So there was actually no shops open. So we, you know, I guess a tip for anyone going onto this flight would be to take not only dinner but maybe breakfast with you as well. The Air Niugini airport wasn't too strict with bringing food or anything, but yes, you can see here there's entertainment system, or there's a screen, but there's actually no entertainment system, so there were no movies or anything and no TV. But you know, we were quite tired at that part of the night, so we were just able to sleep. It was just, yeah, a lot of challenges navigating ourselves from Cebu to Manila with all the LGU restrictions, and then obviously very lucky to find this flight, which is from Air Niugini. From what we've been seeing when we monitored stuff through the website Flight Stats, there wasn't a lot of Air Niugini flights that were cancelled. And also this Air Niugini flight, we took the one going into Cairns in Queensland. That was a Sunday flight. But there's also a Brisbane flight, so you could go from Manila to Brisbane as well via Papua New Guinea, and that's a Friday flight. So there's like a Friday and a Sunday. But yeah, so there was also a Friday flight to Brisbane, and then a Sunday flight to Cairns, which is what we got. The reason why we chose Cairns was because Brisbane was going to be about $500 more than Cairns. We thought, you know, like that's per person, so we thought, you know, like with $1,000, you know, we could probably put that to good use elsewhere. So yeah, so that was the reason why we chose to go via Cairns. Cairns is also considered a very touristy spot as well, so if we had a bit of time, we would have wanted to check out Cairns. As you can see here, we've got our meals, the meals that we got from the airport, because there's no food. But there is water supplied by the airlines though, so that was quite nice. We got sweet and sour and pork there, adobo, which was one of the better options in the cafe that was in the Manila airport. We arrived really early in Papua, about 5 a.m, and everything was still being opened. The X-ray machine wasn't even on, so they had to manually check our bags. But it was all good in the end. We just had a bit of a power nap. So right now we're taking our connecting flight from Port Moresby into Cairns right now. It was a good flight. Again, there was only water. I think most airlines during this pandemic will only serve you water. Not too sure whether food, I think maybe in the form of snacks would be provided, but not like a full meal, unlike pre-pandemic times. And then again, the shops were closed, so yeah, if you have food, bring food. Mints and lollies really helped us get through the day. But they will let you know in advance though if there is no in-flight meals provided. But they usually again provide water, which is an essential. So overall, really nice experience with Air Niugini. It was our first time flying with Air Niugini, and also honestly our first time in Queensland as well. We didn't film any of the procedure when we arrived into Cairns Airport because it was prohibited to video anything or to take videos. But basically we arrived, we went into file with good physical distancing, and then went straight into just the normal airport processes, you know, immigration, and then biosecurity as well. But there was a kind of a COVID screening team was the very first thing that we had to go through when we landed. We were just asked whether we were exhibiting symptoms or if we were exposed or anything. If you say no, they just let you go straight to immigration, and then to biosecurity. And then from biosecurity, they're gonna take you via a bus. So and then they take you straight to your designated quarantine hotel. When we got into Cairns, we talked to a few other Filipinos as well that were there. Some of them have been in the Philippines for a year. You know, again, same story with us, flights canceled and all that. And Air Niugini was really one of the only few options that we had. While we were still in the Philippines as well, since we've subscribed to the alerts from the embassy, we also knew that there were some flights from Philippine Airlines as well. We've been told that those flights are about 80,000 pesos per person, per one way. So it can take you straight to the city where you want to, non-stop. So you don't have to transit anywhere. So you don't have, like for us, for example, we had to transit through Port Moresby, but if you took the Philippine Airlines flight, you wouldn't have to travel, or to any other transit place like Singapore or Hong Kong. So Philippine Airlines, you take it, it's gonna get you straight into Australia via straight into Melbourne, to Sydney, or to Brisbane. So we are making our way now to our quarantine hotel over here. We were when we were speaking to one of the Filipinas, she said that an acquaintance of her came via Air Niugini, came into Australia via Air Niugini a month ago, and she got put into the Pacific International Hotel in Cairns. And oddly enough, we also got put into the Pacific International Hotel in Cairns. So with the hotel setup, everything is provided to you. All the meals, the linen change, all the amenities, the essentials, they're all given to you. You just have to ask. So the military and the police will escort you from the airport. So when you arrive in the airport, the police and the military are there. They're gonna be there to escort you as well all the way to the quarantine hotel. And basically on each floor of the hotel, there's gonna be a military and a military personnel just keeping guard as well, just making sure that everyone's staying in their rooms and doing the right thing. And then the meals were also very systemic. So morning was cereal, and then lunch was cold sandwiches and salad, and then you would get the dish of the day for dinner, which could be anything. So our hotel room was quite standard. As you can see here, we had a king bed, water, and some amenities were already provided. If you needed more amenities, just let them know. There were a few times where we had to get Uber Eats just so that you know, we get some different food. Just a couple of times for lunch. There were free movies in the telly, but it was limited in choice. It was still quite nice. It was spacious enough for us to do some exercises as well. So meals usually get delivered to your door. They just knock and leave the food. and then we just go and pick them up, making sure that we're wearing masks. There was also a really nice balcony where we could see the view of the city. So the quarantine was mandatory and we had to pay for it out of our pockets. While we were there, we were then planning for our flights back to WA. So going into WA is another feat in itself, and we'll be covering that in another vlog. Traveling through COVID was definitely challenging, especially trying to find a path from Philippines to Australia. Although vaccines are coming and the world seems to be dealing better with COVID, it is still quite hard to travel. So if you're looking for a travel option from Philippines to Australia, try Air Niugini out. We had an overall really good experience, and getting into Queensland was quite nice. It's a very low risk state with not a lot of cases. There's a lot of pros and cons to consider, but we think that this path was quite cost effective. So hopefully you found this content informative, and please comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you, and see you on the next one.